If your TrueDepth camera has failed on your iPhone 13 Pro Max, here's how to fix it. We're going to use the JC method using these special chips to repair the Face ID, and we're going to go through the whole process. It is a pretty complicated and technical process, so if this is something you need to send out for repair, reach out to me through my website, which I will link down below. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so basically if you have this message here on your iPhone screen, you most likely have to do this repair. So what happened is the dot projector, which is the sensor in here of your front camera assembly, has failed. This is the front camera and this is the IR cam. And on 13 series, they've actually changed this whole design. The dot projector and the IR cam is in one flex, and we have to separate this and get inside to replace the chips that we need to replace to do this whole process. So it is slightly different than 12 and older, but the steps are kind of the same. The only real difference is this part here, which we're going to walk through. I do recommend you practice on this is one I practice on to go through the steps so you can get a feel what the process is like. Don't just jump in straight to a customer's phone without practicing and getting inside without damaging stuff. So these are the tools you'll need. This is the MANT jig. This actually supports the 13 series, so make sure you get the latest version. As you can see, it actually fits in here. The previous model that I was using did not, so I got the newer version. Now I don't know how to tell what's the newer version other than this side is a lot wider than the original. Then you need the JC V1S or V1SE with the dot projector board that supports the 13 series. So make sure it says 13 on here. If you don't have it, you'll have to buy it. I will link all this down below. This is the UV glue I like to use. So this is how you glue the sensor back onto the lens. And it's nice because you can apply it and then hit it with the UV light and cure it instantly. And then here are the actual chips. So let's take a look at these under the microscope. All right, so these are the parts. I bought two. So this is how it came from DIY Fix Tool. One thing you'll notice is there's actually two parts in here. There's the flex, which is these rectangle ones, and then the chip. The flex is kind of like the first layer, and then the chip goes on top. So we'll walk through exactly how that works. Now I don't know why they sent me 4 of these and just 2 chips. I guess the chips are really the important part. And they are pretty expensive, so keep that in mind. Maybe in the future the price will go down, but these cost way more than other dot projector chips. So one tricky part about this repair is getting the actual sensor out, the camera assembly out. There's multiple screws and stuff, and you do have to get this out, which requires you to lift the board out. And keep in mind the 13 series in the US has the flex that goes around the battery connector, so you gotta be careful when lifting the board out. You gotta lift it and kind of shift it out of the way to get access to the different screws. So you might want to watch a teardown video to see that process, but I'm gonna skip through that part because I don't want this video to take forever. So let me plug this in. It's the flex on the right, the bigger one. So I have this plugged in like that. And then the phone, we got to plug this into the computer. I've already trusted it. All right, so we're going to use the JC Repair Assistant software. This is what we use to read and write and test. These two devices are plugged into the computer, and on the left you can see the phone is detected. On the right is the actual programmer. So anything you can do on the programmer, you can do here on the software. And what you want to do is click detect. This will detect or test the actual sensor. This will tell you if the dot projector for sure is bad. And essentially, if you get abnormal here at the bottom, then go through this process. If you get any errors over here, you might have to go through the same process, or you might have to look at the actual sensor itself to see if there's like liquid damage or anything else. But in this case, we have the common abnormal issue here. So step 1 is to actually do a cloud backup. As you're going to detect, this is the serial number of the device I have here. Click OK, click Save, and this is data saved. Now you'll see here it says cloud data none, but unplug it, plug it back in, and there you go. The data is backed up. So anytime you plug in this phone and have it the sensor plugged into the programmer, then you can write to it and you'll never lose the data. So that's the benefit to the cloud backup. It just uses the cloud data. All right, so now let's do the actual repair. All right, so using the jig that I mentioned earlier, the MANT jig, we're gonna hold this down. Now this is a little tricky. We wanna get inside this part. So that wide section is the one that matters. So the goal here is to actually cut this shield from here to here. So let me get the sticker off so it's out of our way. All right, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. Too much work. All right, one other thing is we need to clear out the glue that's underneath. So let's do that first before we try to get inside the bracket. So I'm using a flat blade here that I have from Tool or Tool, and I'm gonna use, let's do 210 for my hot air. So this glue is different than previous models also, so it's a little thicker and it's white versus compared to before. So you gotta try to get through here. All right, there it goes. You can see it's coming out. So try to get through one side and slice through. And now that'll be good. Now this next step, some might think is controversial because we have to cut open the bracket. There's no easier way to get the sensor out of here from my experience. So maybe it's doable. But the difference from this model is there's actually a solder joint. I think there's two actually, but one that we can see, and it's right here. So let me add a tiny little bit of flux in here. And then we're gonna tin that joint so it kind of weakens essentially. So get a sharp tip on your iron. Oops, I got a lot of solder on there. We'll deal with that later. Ignore that. Pretend that didn't happen. You know what, let me do this. I'll put this stand at an angle using a steel block. Now I can wick it away. So I'm putting my wick in there, and then I think I cleared that out. Oh yeah, look at that. All right, so I'm trying to see if I could separate it, and I did. Now I wonder, it looks like this might be able to come out the other side. This side, there's like a little lip here. So if you're familiar with dot projector repairs, there's like a giant block here, but it won't slide out from this bottom side, but maybe from this top side. Although, let me grab my donor flex. Question is, can I get this whole section out? So this is what it's gonna look like. Right, so imagine the brackets there. I have to push it this way and then kind of go like this. You know what, let's try it. So the goal is really to separate from here to here. Oops. From here to here. We got to separate these two pieces so we can get this out. And this is the scary part. So using the same temp, actually let me go up a little bit. 220 Celsius, 35 air. Essentially, I'm trying to get in between and twist my blade. Maybe that'll cause it to separate. Also, while being conscious with your heats, because you don't want to melt the lenses or anything like that. All right, thing is loose. And the question is, does this come out? It's kind of stuck in there. I believe there's another solder joint on here. Yeah, on this side, which I have no way to access. Here on the left, there's like a little bracket there. It's probably what's holding it in place. Yeah, there's no way I could reach in here. Yeah, there's no way I can get in there to... So you know what, let's just break open the bracket for now, and then we'll, if there's a better way, I'll post that later. But essentially this bracket here is what holds the shield over the top. So get some wire cutters and cut it. You can just grab it real tight and kind of wiggle it. And I got it out. Now we can lift the bracket. And essentially bend it open. And if you just bend it back and forth a few times, it'll break off. Let's put this back like this. I'm gonna basically do the same thing. Yeah, I don't think I got it all off. There it goes. All right. So you can see kind of a little bit of plastic melted, but the lenses look good. So I just assume that's still good. And then here's the new system. This is on the right is the IR cam, and the left is the dot projector, all in one piece with all-in-one flex. So this is for the dot projector repair. So what I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna tape this. So using Kapton tape. And then just to be sure, make sure before you do any further modifications, be sure you copied the original data, because once you do this next step, then it's game over. You can't recover it unless you magically put the IC back. So what we got to do is actually remove this rectangle IC here. And to do that, just like any other IC, we want to put some flux. But be real minimal. And then let's do 260 and 35 air. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat it and point away from the IR cam sensor. You don't want to mess that up. I don't believe we could replace that. You mess it up. So I'm just trying to heat it in circles. Taking a little long. Maybe I could do this. Flick it off. It's not working. Let me increase the temp. I'll do 280. All right, 281. It's a little scary, so let me just try to lift it. Alright, there it goes. Chip is off. Alright, we're getting somewhere. So we don't need that chip anymore. Now let's tin these pads like any other IC. Alright, so what I'm going to do is actually, let me see if I can wipe down that area real gently. Careful, don't mess up any of these little gold wires. Just want to clean off any of these. This is like burnt up flux. That way the parts we install have a clean surface to solder onto. I'm going to put a little bit of new flux on here like that. Alright, now the hard part. Getting these chips out of this bag. Let's see, I don't want to break open the bag, so let me just try with my tweezers. Because first we got to do the little thing came off. Alright, I think it's on the bottom side. First we need a little rectangle part. So you want to flip this over so you can see where it says 13. It goes like that. So if you were looking at it like this, the 13 and the little indicator goes on this bottom left corner. How do I know? Because I saw another video on this from China. Alright, I think I need a little more flux. Feel like not enough flux and it might fly away. Maybe that's why they include extra. Also, nice thing is I do kind of see through this flex, so I can see the pads actually. And I do see a problem. The plastic, this plastic here is too thick. So let me put this out to the side. So the flex is kind of sitting on this, which is going to cause a problem. Yeah, so this flex thing is a little too thick. So what I'm going to do is, let me try to shave off some of this plastic. So I'm going to do, I don't know, 230. See if I could, at least just this section here. Now I don't know if that's going to affect my alignment or anything like that. We'll see. Alright, some more flux. Let's flip it over. We got to see the number 13. Alright. I don't know if you guys can see the solder balls underneath, but that kind of looks aligned. Well, let me use my polarizer lights. Yeah, I don't think you guys can see that. Well, how does the other side look? Alright, so the back side, or the bottom side matches the pads there, but the top side is different because it has different IC. So the tricky part is, how do I get those bottom pads to line up? I guess just go with that placement. Alright, so I'm gonna use really low air. Let's do something like that. So 25% air, lower airflow, and lower temp, and just see what happens. It should snap into place. I'm looking at the solder balls themselves to see if they melt or anything like that. Oh, looks like it might be working. And let me turn up the temperature 260. 260 Celsius and 25 air. Oh, there it goes. Looks like it's going into position. And now look at that. It looks like it's snapping into place. So yeah, that's soldered on. Now let's try the IC. I'm gonna get this IC out somehow. Careful not to damage it. Alright, now here's the tricky part, is we need to find pin 1. I don't see any labels on this chip. It's literally blank. But I do have a diagram here. We gotta look at it from the bottom side. Alright, so based on the diagram I have here, I'll post it up here on the screen. This bottom right is pin 1. So basically, if that's pin 1, we gotta get that onto pin 1 here. So it's gonna be tricky because I have it, I guess that's pin 1, then if we flip it over, pin 1. Alright, this is a bad design by JC, I guess, but alright, like that. Like I said, there's no markings on the top side, so you gotta just go with you find online. Oh. Alright, let's give this a try. Alright, so I'm still at, actually I don't know what setting I am now. All right, 260 and 25% air. The lower airflow helps with blowing away the chip. And now we have a double layer stack here. So I'm gonna just try to reflow it. All right, so I do see the whole bottom flex move, but not the top one. Yeah, so now the chip looks soldered on. I can see it dancing when I do fast spins like that. So I think this is good. If you look at it from the side, it's soldered on. All right, so now one thing about this is the sensor is the actual camera sensor. So if it's dirty, you have to clean it. One trick I found is, well, first we gotta try to clean this flux off. And if you drop alcohol and blow it at the same time, it gets rid of any streaks. Although it looks like this has some other dirt on here. So I'm gonna try a cotton or foam swab to kind of wipe it down. Now it's gonna be dirty, but if we drop ISO and blow it at the same time, it leaves it spotless. If you just try to wipe it, it's not. Now there's some dust on there, but that's probably gonna be fine. All right, so now let's test this out. So let's plug this into the programmer. Let's test it on here. So before it says abnormal, now we're gonna click detect. Look at that, normal, 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 normal. So now that we confirm it's good, we wanna write from AI. It'll detect the phone that we have here that's plugged into the computer, the same one, the original. Detected the serial number, we click write, burn complete. Now just to be sure, detect, this should come back as normal always. So this is fixed. Now we gotta just get it back into the metal housing and see if the alignment is good. So we gotta get this in here. Alright, this is gonna be tricky. I might use tape. So there's no jigs that I know of for 13 series. I actually was looking for them when I was buying this. So let me use some tape. I'm gonna try to line it by hand, kind of just wiggle it until it kind of feels. Oh, that didn't work. Let's see. Yeah, this is probably gonna be the hardest part. So if you remember, there was this bracket here that we could solder onto. If we could align to that, we at least know that side is aligned. Alright, this tape idea is not ideal because it keeps kind of pushing the flex. So let me just cut off this excess part. And I'll put it there. Maybe there'll be a jig here in the future, but so right now there isn't. All the videos I saw from China, they were just holding it by hand. So let me try that now. So we just gotta get this back in here. Now you also gotta be careful about getting your fingerprints and smudges on the camera lenses, so keep that in mind. Oh man, this is hard. Alright, so one trick for that is you can buy stickers specifically for this, that they go directly over the camera lens and protect the lens. So I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna just use Kapton to put it over that. Alright, so at least since I'm kind of manhandling these, we don't have to worry about the front of the lens getting dirty. Now this IR cam did get a little bit of dust. Oh well, let's see. So my goal is to align this to the bracket is also aligned. This is really difficult. Actually, it was easier on my practice flex. I don't know why this one's a little trickier. If anyone has any tips, let me know in the comments. Alright, I think I got it a little bit. I have a feeling this is where everyone is going to struggle. I mean, that kind of looks aligned. So I'm just going to hit this spot with my iron. Sorry, it's real shaky, but I'm literally doing this by hand. There's not enough solder there. So let me get my solder wire nearby. Right, and there you get it. Alright, this needs flux too. At least I got solder there so I can flow into the flux here shortly. And this burns my fingers. There you go. Alright, so I got a solder joint there. I don't believe I can reach in there. Let's take a look at the alignments. Basically the edges should kind of match up with everything. And it looks like it is matching. So the housing of this should all kind of match up. So now, time for the UV glue. We want to glue the housing into the sensor into the housing. So it's going to be tricky. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention you do need a UV light for this. So have that handy. Alright, I'm going to do it by sections, being that I have no jig for this. Alright, I got the glue there, and then here with the UV lights. Also make sure you squeeze down so it's sitting flat. You don't want to squeeze down, or if you try to glue it while there's a gap, then there might be an issue. Alright, so I got some glue there. I need some glue on the sides. Let me get some more glue. A little more. Now you don't want big blobs in one spot. I'll try to spread it out. And press down. All right, press down, hit it with the UV light. Give it at least, 5-10 seconds. Depending on how much glue you put, you might need more. All right, and then the bottom, if you can, maybe in that corner. Squeeze some out, get it on your tweezer, and then apply it where you can. And cure it. Okay, so now we can go and test. So with the battery unplugged, we're gonna put the assembly, dot projector, front cam, IR cam, all that back into the housing, and make sure the alignment is good. All right, make sure they're plugged in. Slip it into the actual position they belong. All right, so make sure it's in the right space. I was having trouble getting it aligned, but make sure that the metal parts in here actually go into the slot. All right, so plug in the battery. I actually like to snap in the screen just for testing. And let's see what happens. Okay, the phone's booted up. Let's test this out. So Face ID, all right, error message is gone. Here it is, the moment of truth. Look at that. Face ID complete. I don't have a mask. They're not necessary and they don't work. All right, so passcode, I'm just gonna set one up. Use anyway. Now this is the true test. Does the phone unlock with actual, at the lock screen? So up here, there's gonna be a lock little icon. So take a look. It's locked, now unlocked. So as soon as you look at it, it unlocked. And you're able to swipe up. Otherwise, if I'm not looking and I swipe up, it's like waiting to detect my face. But look at it, there you go, instantly. So yeah, this is all fixed. So this method to repair Face ID is not unique to JC. There are other solutions. There's the I2C method, which is essentially the same steps, except you're using an I2C programmer and an I2C chip, but you essentially go through the same process. So you can use this video as a tutorial. The software will also be kind of similar. So check out my I2C video that I've done in the past where I go through that process for the 12 and older. It's gonna be basically the same thing for 13 series. Maybe 14 is probably the same as well. Before you go, do you want to get paid to write out a written version of this whole tutorial? You can even get screenshots from this video. You can essentially type out my words. Basically, we need a guide for this type of stuff. So not just Face ID, but any repair. So if you have, a Samsung doesn't power on, an iPad, a graphics card, basically any device that needs a written guide solution kind of document. If you're able to do those, reach out to me. Louis Rossman is looking to pay people to contribute to the Repair Wiki. This is a crowdsourced site where people can post solutions and use it as a reference. Having more solutions out there online so we can solve more cases will only help our whole industry. We don't have the manufacturer support, so we have to rely on ourselves and the community to gather this information and help us all out, because it's unlikely you sharing your solution is really gonna put you out of business. It might help some other shop way across the country who you might never even see. But you know, being collaborative like this does help us all, you know, at the end of the day. So I'm posting there, you know, solutions. You know, I filled up the iPhone 7, 8s, 10s, up to the 12s with different solutions, and we need more. So reach out to me if you're interested in getting paid to create these guides. And don't forget to check out the links down below, because I also link to my locals community where you can follow me, where I post kind of the repairs I'm working on, kind of step by step of what I did, you know, different things, you know, behind the scenes of different videos I'm working on. So check that out. I would also like you guys to check out my t-shirts. So like this one, I can micro solder. So I'll link all that stuff down below, all the tools I use in today's video. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your friends. And if you do need this repair, reach out to me as well. I will link everything down below. And if you want to see another video where I repair an iPhone 12 Pro Max ear speaker flex so we can get Face ID working, check it out right here. So I appreciate all you guys who stuck around here till the end. I'll see you guys on the next one.